So I'm torn between talking about suffering and talking about loving kindness, but I promised loving kindness. So. Suffering this afternoon. Ramdas is on this afternoon. I think he'll talk about joy, if anything. But my friend Mickey there in the back is standing up, who's a wonderful filmmaker who made a film on Ramdas called Fierce Grace. As well as this wonderful film on the Dalai Lama, our other great teacher here on the island. Once told me loving and kindness were two different things. I had to choose one to talk about, but that's because he was following me with showing of the film. So. But are they two things or are they one? Loving and kindness as they meld together. And no doubt I'll bring in suffering because I'm Buddhist. So yesterday I spoke about loving kindness as rooted in the way we use our attention, which of course is very fundamental to the actual practice of the meditation, which we'll go on and do soon. Another way of seeing loving kindness is kind of the natural response of the heart to seeing things, we would say actually as they are, in terms of connection, interconnection, the responsiveness we have with one another when we feel this sense of connection as compared to the creation of the other who's out there somewhere, someone we don't need to care about because they're not us, you know. So that sense of self and other, or us and them, is the antithesis of loving kindness. And this is loving kindness, like I said, it's something natural. It's not, even in the meditation, it's not something formulaic or forced or pretentious in any way. But here it's really the flowering of wisdom. It's the way wisdom expresses itself. When we see clearly how connected we actually are, then this is just what happens. And here the Dalai Lama is probably my great inspiration, because it doesn't seem to me, that there's a kind of self-consciousness about him, like, oh God, this person's really boring, but I am the Dalai Lama, so, I better act like I'm present and interested, but, that person looks better, there doesn't seem to be that forced, artificial, self-conscious, or self-righteous kind of perspective. It's just so natural. As one friend of mine once said when the Dalai Lama when he received the Nobel Peace Prize, she said, giving the Dalai Lama a Peace Prize is like giving Mother Nature an art award. But that doesn't mean it just happened. He will say it didn't just happen. It happens through as the result of practice, which means seeing more clearly, being more present, learning how to use attention in these, what turn out to be quite radical ways, going beyond our almost consuming self-interest. Krishnadas sometimes says, I think very aptly, that we wake up in the morning and we, right from the beginning, produce, direct, and star in the story of me. And then we write reviews of it all day long. So when we move out of that, it is something quite radical. We move out of it in many different ways. One way is this creative use of attention, and one way is really trying to open more fully to how things actually are. So another great teacher, Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, has these exercises where he'll like hold up a carrot or a string bean or something like that, and you reflect on how many forms of life have been involved in that string bean getting in your hand. You know, like as though you couldn't tell, I'm from New York. And, you know, so I don't usually start with like all the creatures of the earth, you know, who are part of that seed, but I'm sure they're part of it. You know, and then the people who planted the seed, and those who harvest it and transport it, and those who sell it, and, you know, there are a lot of beings involved by the time that string bean gets in your hand. Or an exercise I often do sitting in front of a room full of people like this is I say, well, how many of us are actually here? Like, what if we included those who influenced us in some way to be here? Like everybody who told us about their meditation or read us a poem or played us a piece of music or something that opened a door of faith for us. You know, in some way for each of us, there are many, many beings who are part of our being here. And I often include not just those who've helped us so directly in that way, but those who've really hurt us. Not just those we find annoying or obnoxious, but those whose actions have really brought us to an edge, so that we almost said, I've got to find another meaning of happiness, or I've got to find another way of looking at life, because I am really caught. This is too much pain. Because in a way, they're part of our being here too. And everyone who did grow the food that we've eaten today, or made the clothing that we're wearing, or built this building, or, you know, steward this piece of land. It's a lot of life. Not one of us, however alone we might feel, however cut off we might feel, not one of us has arrived here independent of all these causes and conditions and influences and relationships. That's every moment of our life. It's like this confluence, this ocean of conditions coming together and coming apart. That's just the nature of things. So as we pay attention in those ways, we understand more and more about this kind of interconnection, which is just how things are. It's not like wishful thinking or being sentimental, you know, or kind of stupid about things. It's how things are.